What's up, everybody? This is Petey from SupplementReviews.com. After a bunch of reviews popped up in a short span, naturally a few emails were sent to our good friends over at MuscleTech about this product, Phase 8. You've seen a lot of it on our site lately. We've had a few field testers out there testing it out, so naturally, you know, if it's going to be all over the site, we need to see exactly what is in it. So, without further ado, they sent me Phase 8 to review here, and we're going to dive in, see if it's worth the hype. It's their newest protein product, and we'll see if it lives up to the rest of what MuscleTech is known for. Alright, so, take a look at the front of the container here. We've got Phase 8 on it. It's a multi-phase, 8-hour protein, provides high biological value and sustained release protein, 8 hours of amino acid delivery, increases muscle size and strength. This is a cookies and cream flavor. It's got 26 grams of protein, 6 protein sources, 2.2 grams of glutamine, and 4.6 grams of BCAAs. Alright, let's start with the good, the bad, and the ugly here. Taste and mixability is the first thing we'll start with. This stuff does have a blend of proteins in it, including casein, so it's going to have that slightly gritty taste when you mix it, making it a little bit thicker. That's kind of what I expected. It's very similar texture-wise to Dymatize Elite XT, if you've ever had that one, so you'll know what to expect there in terms of thickness. It's a little bit gritty, but it still mixes nice and smooth, no clumping, so I do like it there. Cookies and cream flavor, I know it, oh yeah, here we go. On the back of it says, best-in-class taste, flavored by the world's top flavoring houses of protein flavoring experts. Apparently, you know, there's top flavoring houses somewhere out there. This stuff does taste actually very good. It's nice, sweet, it's a good cookies and cream flavor, nice little cookie bits in there, so it is some tasty stuff. The taste and mixability is the highest marks here. And it doesn't disappoint, so they did do a good job in terms of making stuff taste good. It gets a 9.4 out of 10 in terms of taste and mixability. It's very enjoyable to drink. It's slightly thick, not too thick, and it has a good taste. Good job there. Alright, now, this is where I'm always curious to see what happens in terms of protein supplements. So, looking at the supplement facts here, we'll start the nutrition here. For one scoop at 41 grams, you got 22 per container. Or this is a 2-pound container on the dot, so they stuck with that there. In one serving is 150 calories, 20 from fat, 2 grams total fat, none from trans fat, which I'd hope not. There's only 5 milligrams of cholesterol, which is very low. I like that. Total carbohydrates, 7 grams, with only 1 gram of sugar. We'll get to that in a second. 26 grams of blended protein, calcium, sodium, both at a pretty low level. And it even has a digestive enzyme matrix of only 100 milligrams, which is, I guess, the main purpose of this product. But at the same time, it is kind of cool to see it in there. Now, this is where we're going to dive in a little bit more here. Looking at, there's just so much going on in the back of this container here, so let's take a look at some of the claims of this. 8-hour sustained release protein for absorption with 6 high-quality sources. It actually has a nice little listing here of biological value protein sources, your hydrolyzed whey protein isolate, regular whey protein isolate, whey concentrate, milk protein isolate, calcium caseinate, and micellar casein. It doesn't have soy protein or brown rice. Good, I like that. And that's what just, you know, on the big print here what they have. So looking at the ingredients of this actual product, the protein blend, this is where the good and the bad and the ugly of this product are. What I do like is I like their protein blend. I like it a lot, actually. It's probably one of the best ones that I've seen in terms of MuscleTech. They've actually done a lot of consumer research on this, seeing what people want, seeing, I guess, what quality of ingredients are being put into their products. So kudos to them for looking at this and actually putting together a very good blend. I like blended proteins, and this one does not disappoint in terms of that area. However, starting with the protein blend, the main one in here is going to be milk protein isolate, which is going to be the cheapest protein that they can put in this product. Because, you know, supplying calcium caseinate in some whey, 80-20 split. Next up, whey protein concentrate, still one of the cheaper proteins. Micellar casein in there as well, followed by calcium caseinate, and last but not least, they have some hydrolyzed whey protein isolate and regular whey protein isolate. It doesn't say what form of processing they use, but that's okay. I like the blend overall. However, I would like to see a little higher concentration of the more expensive proteins in there, you know, for the price point that this is at. So moving on from there, one big concern that I've had, especially, I've heard a lot of questions about this lately with the big, I guess, taurine spiking and amino spiking numbers in terms of protein, of how much protein is actually in the content here. It is a little bit concerning. You see an amino matrix including taurine and glycine, so that might skew your numbers here. Something that there's no need for it having it in a protein product, and their concern here is maltodextrin, natural and artificial flavors, sunflower-based creamer, including sunflower oil, corn syrup solids, sodium caseinate, monodiglycerides, a bunch of other crap. You know, the cookie crumble pieces is a cookies and cream, no problem there. I mean, it's very standard for the cookie flavoring that they use. Sugar, vegetable oil, including soybean, palm, and palm kernel oil, TBHQ, a preservative, alkalized cocoa, fructose, corn syrup, the germinated yellow corn flour, chocolate, salt, more dextrose, baking soda, whey, I guess all included in that nice little blend there. Salt, soy lecithin is a preservative, guar gum to keep from clumping, silicon dioxide, and a little bit of artificial sweetener, sulfate potassium, and sucralose. Contains milk, soy, and wheat ingredients. Processed in the facility, and also processes egg, fish, and shellfish. Alright, so they started out really strong out of the gate here with the protein blend. While I didn't like the exact ratio of the protein that was in here, I like the blend as a whole. It's very similar to a lot of the other blends out there in terms of what order they list stuff in and how much is included, just to make it price effective. And also, having that blend there will make up for the fact of it. However, when you have a product with so much added stuff in here that doesn't need to be in there, that's where I have to take off points. I really like the protein blend, but the other stuff in there, like the maltodextrin and the creamers and stuff like that, it's completely unnecessary. It takes away from the ingredient profile of this protein. While it looks fine in terms of supplement facts and nutrition here, I'm not a fan. There's no need to put maltodextrin in a protein product. So you may have 7 grams of carbs on one of it coming from sugar. However, you probably got 5 to 6 grams of maltodextrin in here just to make stuff flow easily on that dextrose and to make it taste good. All right, that's not completely necessary, and that is one thing that I'm not a fan of. All right, so overall for the ingredient profile, it would have actually had a high 8 rating in here, probably about an 8.8. However, with all the additional stuff in here that I feel that doesn't need to be in there, that takes away from the quality and the purity of a protein product like this, it's going to get drugged down. It's going to come in at a 7.9 out of 10 in terms of the ingredient profile. Maybe take a note of this, MuscleTech, on this. If you're doing the ingredient profile with this, the blend is good. Get rid of the extra stuff, and you'll have a much higher rating. All right. So once again, a 7.9 out of 10 here. All right. In terms of effectiveness, it is a protein product. I mean, it's going to work just like any other protein. The main thing that I judge a protein by is if it has digestive issues or bloating or gas or anything like that. I didn't have any of that. It works just like any other protein. The nice cool part about protein blends, you can use it for recipes and some puddings and stuff like that because it's going to be a little bit thicker. So if you have a blended protein like this, then try it out. Actually, check out my Instagram there. I have a few recipes, including a chia seed pudding that can use a protein powder as a base. Awesome stuff, especially if you're on a cut, so you need to have a little bit of goodness in your life without wrecking your macros. That's something that this would be good for, as well as at any other time of protein. That's one thing that is a nice part about blend. It's very versatile. However, there's other blends out there. All right, so in terms of value, once again, would have been higher if it wasn't for the additional stuff and maybe the different ratio in terms of the protein included in here. However, I have to knock it down a little bit just because of the extra stuff they put in here. So before I move on to value here, real quickly, the effectiveness right here, it's just the protein. It's going to be average at 8 out of 10. So not bad, not great. It is good protein. I like the blend. However, I feel there's better choices. For the value of this stuff, you got 22 servings per 2 pounds. That's pretty standard here. Last time I checked, it was priced like any other protein in there. Nothing above, nothing below. One thing I would like to see in this blend here, maybe some additional egg protein, and also like I said, reformulate the protein blend in there a little bit to have more expensive and higher quality proteins in there, such as whey hydroxylate and a whey isolate at a higher ratio compared to the cheaper milk protein. Okay, so that'll bump up the value. However, in this case here, it's not great, but it's not poor. It's going to score a very average 8 out of 10. All right, so overall, this product, I did enjoy it. It's probably the best MuscleTech product that I've seen, so they are making good progress here. However, anytime you have something that tries to go above and beyond like this, I mean, you have to have a price effectiveness and you also have to have marketability. So one thing that they're getting a lot better on is listening to the consumer and doing less of the kitchen sink approach. However, with this one, I feel it's a very solid protein. It's better than a NitroTech, which is one of the worst products I've ever tried, unless I know they've reformulated it lately. So who knows, we'll review that in the future here. However, there's better blends out there, but at the same time, see it on sale, give it a try. It is tasty, and it is a protein, so I think you'd enjoy it. Overall, it gets us 8 out of 10. It's not great, but it's not poor, and it barely skims by an 8, maybe a 7.9, but I'll give it an 8 to be generous here. Alright, so overall, Phase 8, it is a good product. However, I feel there's a lot better choices out there, and, you know, give it a try if you see it on sale. Alright, well this has been Petey from SupplementReviews.com reviewing the new Phase 8 from MuscleTech. Make sure to follow us on all that good social media stuff, Instagram for recipes, and to see exactly the happenings of SR.com. Keep an eye out for some awesome New Year prize packages from our board sponsors, and to win some free supplements. We give away stuff every week on our Facebook page, so make sure to stay up to date on that. This has been Petey from SupplementReviews.com. You stay classy, everybody.